on the phone lines. Welcome in Mr. Gus Frerotte. A unique perspective here. Gus obviously started for years in Washington, but also a Pittsburgh native. Gus, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us.
Oh,
Hey, how are you guys doing? What's
we
up,
got you in the
BMitch?
bind here, Gus. How you doing,
Hey,
brother?
I'm always true to the burgundy and gold. Don't get me wrong.
All right.
Love to hear that. Of course, Gus, in 5 years as a starter in Washington, threw for 48 touchdowns. Dude, I don't know how much football, like NFL football, you're consuming every Sunday, but is it for you watching how things are changing in Washington pretty damn interesting?
I love it. I've known Dan Quinn for several years, for a long time, since I played in Miami in '05, and I've always kind of watched his career. And I still text him every now and then, and I'm just so excited for him and even the entire city. It's just been great to get those fans back, to get the stadium back full. And you know, when people talk about last time they were 7-2 was when I was there, I'm like, wow, that's a long time ago because I'm old. I'm not
crazy.
as old as BMitch, but I'm old.
Gus, I'm still crazy. Nah, but think about it, like Dan Quinn. Just for fans to understand him a little better, I'm sure they can look at him and see how genuine he is. How would you describe him so the fans could get a better understanding?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. When I was in Miami, he was D-line coach. We used to come out for practice. You know, Saban was our head coach, and Dan would just come out in cleats, and he'd run all the drills with the guys. You know, he's just he's one of the guys, basically. He was always easy to get along with, always easy to talk to, and no matter what situation you put him in, he's friendly. He understands what people are going through. And then he can also be tough. You know, I think the experiences he's had as a head coach and a coordinator in this league has taught him some things. And I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to be a head coach, because you go from being a coordinator where you're just dealing with your side of the ball, and those are the only things you got to deal with, make sure those guys are playing well, to a head coach. And it's the whole organization now you got to deal with. And as we see year in and year out, there's not a lot of guys that can handle it.
Yeah, it's interesting, kind of the consensus builder he is, like just the staff he was able to put together.
Yeah.
And now these guys have, I think in general, pro athletes tend to be a little skeptical of like the overt, we're all in it together, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But these guys are all in on everything he's pushing. And it's remarkable to watch kind of take hold in a locker room.
I think if you, which you guys obviously would understand, that it starts from the top. We see a team in that division that's not doing very well, and things always start from the top. And I think in Washington, the top hasn't been very good for a long time. And so now we got some new leadership and want to care, want to win. Yep. And I think that goes a long way with the rest of the organization. And when you feel like the people that are at the top of the organization have your back, then I think the confidence goes a long way with the team.
You've watched a lot of quarterbacks who played in this league. Looking at the young guy, Jayden Daniels, what are your thoughts on him?
I love him. I think he's just, you know, I don't know why he was watching him. You're saying, why wasn't he the first pick? But I think that takes a lot of pressure off him. I think he's doing well. He sees the field tremendously before the snap. I think that gets him out of a lot of situations. He reads defenses really well. He can move in the pocket, and he can escape. We were watching the game the other day, and I told my sons, man, if I could have ever run even like half of like that, I'm not, you know what I mean? It's just the kid's got a lot of talent. You see the throws he makes, and then when you see the ability to stand in the pocket when teams are running cover zero against him and bringing the house, and he's got to hold that ball an extra second to get it up and throws touchdowns and puts it in the right spot. He's pretty special, and I'm really excited and happy that he's in D.C.
It is neat and fun to kind of watch this unfold. And what Brian and I try to talk about a lot, we're talking with former Redskins quarterback Gus Frerotte here. What B and I keep talking about is, you know, they've really built a team. There's real cohesion. They've got a really good coaching staff. Dan Quinn deserves a lot of credit. Adam Peters deserves a lot of credit. But when you add a dynamic talent at quarterback, everything looks better.
Yeah, I think any team. I mean, you look at the Kansas City. I mean, if they didn't have Mahomes, who knows what they'd be like. But that dude goes out. Doesn't matter who's playing receiver or tight end or what lineman they have in or running backs. The changes all the time for him, and he gets the job done. And I think that's what we're looking at. And as long as you can get the support from the top, and those people have the trust in you to let you go out and run the team like you want to run it, and be a leader like you've grown up to be as a quarterback, then I think that gives you an unlimited chance to have success. And if you can have good people around him, I'm not saying you have to have every position has to be great, but I just hope the 5 guys in front of them stay big, strong, fast, and smart. And I think they can go a long way in Washington.
I think that's been the key right there. If any quarterback, if you don't have a good offensive line, somebody can protect you, it's going to be tough. Even if you're a Pat Mahomes, if you don't, the year you didn't have the good line, they got handled by the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. But when you get a good line and you're a good quarterback, those things work. I think Tyler Biadasz, the center, has been one of the better additions to this team. And talk about the importance of a center, because we always talk about the left tackle, right tackle. The center is more important than either one of them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my years in Washington, I think I had 4 different centers. We were always trying to find a different guy, from John Giesick to Corey Raymer, Jeff Ulenake, you name it. We've had a bunch of guys. And then, you get when I went to Minnesota, even Denver was Tom Nalen for years, 12 years playing center. In Minnesota, it was Matt Burke playing center. Smart, guys know what to do, can read the defenses, takes a lot of pressure off a quarterback. And I think having a guy on the front line like that, I'll give you an example of when it's hard is when I played in St. Louis and Todd Stussy was our left tackle. He was making all the calls as left tackle for the whole line. Damn. And it's hard to communicate to the right tackle what's happening, right? Just because he was an older guy, a veteran, the center was young.
And if you're on the road, how loud it is.
Yeah, but when you get down there, you can stuff gets kind of drowned out. Even if it's loud, you can hear, you can understand guys' motions. You do it long enough, you understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that the guy in the middle that runs the show and is calm, is poised, can do the things you need to do. Like doesn't panic if there's, the time's running out and he's got to snap the ball quick. It's not over the quarterback's head. Those kind of things really help.
For sure. And then I don't know what you think of it, because offenses have just changed so much. Like for you talking about that 96 team that did start 7-2. I mean, that was such a run-driven team. I think what did Terry Allen finish with that year? 21 rushing touchdowns on 350 attempts.
Yeah.
But now, like, the league is obviously changed into so much more of a passing league, and rules have changed that, and it's just different. But what do you think of this Washington offense, which Jayden is so impressive, but it's a little bit of a throwback in that they run the hell out of the football?
I think with Cliff, he learned a lot from his time in the league and head coaches at Arizona. Obviously he's smart. He understands how to call plays. And I think he realized, like, okay, when I got a good line and I have a good quarterback, what's the best way to protect them? It's not pass, thinking of the best pass protection. It's a run game. When you have a good run game and you can run good play action and give your receivers a chance to get downfield, there's nothing better. And BMitch can tell you, when you have a good run game, it opens up the whole playing field.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get a little confused by it. Like when you see Tom Brady leading New England to all those Super Bowls, but they ran a damn football effectively. When they had to run it, they ran it. Even Pat with Andy Reid. Andy may not run the ball as much as Belichick would, but Andy will throw you a swing route or a flat route, which is an extension to the running game for them. And they have a lot of success with that because they loosen up a defense. And you can't just all of a sudden you creep up and now we got some speed to go right past you.
Yeah, that's what it is. And a lot of times it's holding those linebackers. If I can, if we're running the ball, I mean, I look at, if you look at Baltimore, they got a monster in the backfield. You run a play action to him, linebackers are stepping up no matter what. They got to come forward because if they're on their heels, they're getting run over. But that gives you an opportunity to get your tight ends down the field, crossing routes, get your receivers open. There's big gaps in the defense. And so I think that they're approaching it the right way. The Commanders are. And if they can keep the run game going, keep healthy up front, then that's going to let Jayden do what he's best at, getting back there, seeing the field, making the right reads, and getting the ball in the playmaker's hands.
For sure. Talking with Gus Frerotte, Redskins quarterback, had a long NFL career, started about 100 games in the NFL, a whole bunch of – that's crazy. I didn't even think about you playing for Nick Saban.
Wow.
If you want to give him a follow, it's a pretty cool Instagram account. You can follow at Gustav12QB, Gustave. You played in a lot of different spots and learned a lot of different offenses. I wanted to ask a little bit about what you're seeing Pittsburgh run now and just kind of the balls it took for Mike Tomlin to go from Justin Fields. They're winning games and players are happy. They're 4-2, and to make that move to go to Russ Westbrook.
I think that I thought they were going to make that move the whole time. When Russell Wilson got healthy, they were going to put him in because, I don't think there's a better way to get a kid that you want to learn, see if he understands the game. Preseason, training camp, you're going to get a little bit out of him, but until he gets behind the line in a real game, you're not going to really know what you got. And they were able to see that for 6 games with Justin Fields. And now you bring Russell Wilson in, who they don't need to see that. They've seen his whole career. They understand what he can do. He's won Super Bowls. And now he's back in. He's healthy. He throws a deep ball really well. And now the young kid can sit back and hopefully learn a lot from him. But I think they have a great situation with that two-headed monster. And I can see them running just some kind of packages with Justin Fields because he's such an incredible athlete. And that he's proved to the league that he's not just a runner. He can make the throws as well.
You talk so much about offenses. Sometimes they run in like a 2-minute or whatever. Or you get a guy like a Pat Mahomes dictating to a defense. Well, just a couple of weeks ago, and then all of a sudden, Bobby Wagner switched up. Everything he switched, Bobby switched up to it to be better than what they were. Have you ever been in a game where you had a linebacker or somebody calling everything you do and it messed with him?
Yeah, BMitch, when I look back at a lot of our time, there weren't a lot of coaches that were giving quarterbacks a lot of opportunity to switch calls. Because I even think back when Norv was calling plays, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the season he goes, "Okay, we're going to do run to run and run to pass, and we haven't practiced it." Oh, don't worry, it'll be easy. Then we go out there in the game and the safeties mess with you a little bit and you're like, okay, it doesn't look good this way. I want to go switch that way. Then they go back to where they were and then you're caught and then your time's running out. I think that, these experiences that he's getting and still winning games is invaluable, but there are definitely, these captains on the other side of the football. Bobby Wagner's a vet, man. He's been around a long time. He knows, he studied film. He understands that if this kid's changing a play, it's probably because, we got a cover 2 look or whatever. Let's switch it up and make it harder for him. And those kind of little games that get played during the game, they can make it a lot of fun or they can make it really difficult for a quarterback.
Talking with Gus Frerotte here, Redskins quarterback for 5 seasons. Obviously still watches the burgundy and gold, but played a long time in the NFL. I'm curious. So you get drafted by Washington in 94. You come in. That scenario was nuts. 7th rounder. They had just drafted Heath.
He was a better quarterback.
I've heard that on air, off
I'm talking
air,
about you, Gus.
right away. Frerotte was a better quarterback, but
he knew how I was in the huddle.
Yeah, the locker room always knows, right?
Hell yeah.
How difficult was that as a rookie to be in a situation where there's a kind of a golden boy installed?
Yeah, I was brought up on hard work and just going out and doing the best you can. And then once, I think the biggest thing was he held out for training camp.
Yeah.
And I literally got all his reps. And I got to prove to everybody there that I could play, that I could call plays in the huddle, be a leader. Because when you're not the first round pick, you're just coming in. Nobody really knows anything about you. All I knew is when you're in training camp, don't walk through the veterans locker room or something's going to happen to you. I learned that lesson early. And then other than that, just try to go out and do the best I can. I think some of the other things, like the leadership we had on that team between BMitch, BMitch is going to let you know if you're doing it right or wrong. And then guys like Darryl Green, who said, I was taking practice snaps for the defense, right? I'm running scout team. and I'm throwing it to where they have it circled. D Green comes up to me after practice. What are you doing? I said, telling what the coach is. I'm just trying to make the team. He goes, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing me any favors. I said, well, if I don't do that, they're going to bench me, and I'll never get a chance to play. And he goes, look, I'll talk to him. You come in and you throw it where you think it needs to go. I don't care who's playing. If it's on scout team, if you're running the first team offense, you got to play like it's a game every time. And from that point on, that's what I did. And, when you have veteran people like that around you that are willing to see what you can do and hopefully push you in the right way, then you have opportunities to, go out and do very good things. And, I just feel really lucky. I try to take advantage of every situation that came my way throughout my career.
That is a really, really cool story, dude.
Yeah, that's how coaches keep. I think a lot of coaches keep their roster how they want it by doing that. Hey, throw it right here. Then they never know what you can do, and they can say, "Oh, I never knew he could play." Nah, but when you start doing what Darryl told Gus to do, now they go, "Oh, Gale, we got to make some decisions here."
Right. That's self-preservation.
It doesn't do a backup or a third-string quarterback any justice doing that, because all of a sudden, if he's got to play, and he's been throwing it to the wrong places, and you got to go out in the game and throw it to the right places. Sometimes that stuff doesn't compute, and you got to. It's hard for guys. So your brain gets wired a certain way, and especially if you're on scout team, like you can't. Like I never wanted to get used to throwing interceptions. I don't care who it was to. If it was our team, it doesn't matter. Like you have to go out and you want to win and you want to be great. You got to compete at the highest level no matter what.
That's why I ran scout team all the way to year 14. I didn't care.
Yeah, but
I ran hard. I ran
to stand around. You didn't want to stand around.
Yeah.
Like I never liked standing around. I love running scout team if I wasn't the starter.
Yeah, I ran hard. I didn't care what they said, but the defense loved it because they want to see a real look. They don't want to see that loafing crap.
No, nobody gets better doing that.
Yeah.
Nobody gets better doing that. I totally agree with that. I had to follow up on something you said there. When you were a rookie, they had a veterans locker room. There was a separate locker room back then?
Yeah, back in Carlisle, there was the veterans, and then there was a rookie
training camp.
You want to get your ankles taped to go to the training room, you got to go around the veterans locker room. Everybody knew that.
So what would happen if you walked through? Gus, did we lose you?
Yeah, sorry.
No, all good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
What would happen if you walked through the vets locker room?
Yeah, you just didn't want to. You want to do. I mean, obviously, I don't think that things are the same way anymore. But that's just kind of how it was, and you got to earn that respect to get in there.
Let me ask a different question, BMitch. What would happen if a rookie walked through the veterans locker room?
Naughty things. Now we'll tape your legs up.
Would you just grab them and start taping them?
Tape you up. You might get somebody may touch your hair, and your hair may fall out later because it was a hair remover. We did all kind of stuff to people. But it was all about bringing people together, right, Gus?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like meant to ridicule or be divisive. I think it was just hey, dude, you want to get in here, you got to earn respect before you can step foot in this place.
Yeah, I get that. I like it.
It didn't matter. Obviously, I mean, I would have liked to seen it happen to some first rounders, but rarely did it. But us seventh rounders, we had to make sure we knew where we were going.
Dude, totally. I think I don't think people realize how stacked the deck is, even for draft picks. Like the GM that drafts the first rounder has to be proven correct. So they're going to give every opportunity to those first rounders.
Yep.
Gus, do you have any specific BMitch stories from back in the day when you were you guys were 5 years
just
teammates.
A nice guy.
BMitch was an angel. He was quiet, never said anything. He just kept to himself when you were out there.
Real wallflower.
I don't think nobody believed that one.
There's nothing like throwing BMitch a short when he's running a flat route. You throw it short at his feet. There's a pretty good stare coming back your way.
He's going to get clocked.
Gus,
this has been great.
You get ready to get as we used to say, double barrels to the eardrums from BMitch.
I like it. Gus, thank you for the time, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, cool.
Gus Frerotte, man. Dude, I remember the year they drafted Schuler and then they drafted Gus. And The Washington Post back then is where you got your information, and it was the Washington Post of George Michael. That's like how I got all my Redskins information.
That was it.
And it must have been the second year
and
when they actually
Wolf.
allowed it to be an opportunity. And the Post every day had this graphic of like QB competition, who was up, who was down. And I swear the entire city wanted it to be Gus, because you had this first rounder who held out, got all the millions of dollars, versus this 7th round grinder that just smiled all the time.
He smiled, and when he stepped in the huddle, you had a calmness and a feeling about it that this dude knows what the hell he's doing. When he stepped in the huddle a lot of times, you're like, is he even calling the play that's in our playbook? He called some stuff one time. I'm like, dude, that's not in the playbook. I'm serious.
I believe it.